Greetings viewers, Eric the Car Guy here, also known as ETCG1 on this here channel. And here on ETCG1 we talk about stuff, we don't do repair videos, so if you want repair videos, head down to the description, check out the Eric the Car Guy channel, and watch all the repair videos you like. Otherwise, if you wish to stick around and join in the conversation, I welcome you to do so. And how are you? As you'll notice, we are someplace different. Let's go for a ride. We're not in our usual place as far as being in the shop. So why don't we get outside of the shop a little bit today? Because today I want to talk a little bit about my 1993 Acura Vigor. And one of the main reasons is some of you out there have a little bit of, well, I don't, you don't get it. You don't get what I'm trying to do here. And I'm hoping this video will help allay some of those concerns. First, this is one of the few Hondas that I've ever driven that actually has bottom end torque. See, I was spinning tires there. And that's a really nice feature. It gets to 60 a lot quicker than the Ford does, which is nice. And I've got to be honest, I've been driving this car more than any of my other cars lately. And mainly it's because it's got the reliable POS written all over it. 5-cylinder, 2.5 liter engine, 20 valves, long narrow intake runners. I did a video about that when we talked about why that's cool, because that gives us nice bottom end torque, and that's what I believe is what gives it this. But the Acura Vigor was Honda's way of creating the ultimate Accord. And they actually started making them back in 1981 in Japan, and we didn't see them here in the States until 1992. And they were only available for about 3 years as the Acura Vigor, and then they changed the name to the 2.5 Acura TL. They also had a 3.2 Acura TL, which was just the V6 version. But these 5-cylinders, I've got to say, a lot of you have commented about Audi 5-cylinders that you might have had, or just 5-cylinders in general and how you think that they're cool. And I agree. It's a very different type of power delivery. These cylinders fire every 120 degrees as opposed to, like, say, a 4-cylinder that fires every 180 degrees. So it's got a much smoother power delivery. Now, it doesn't get that much better gas mileage than a V6 does, at least from what I've noticed. But as I said, it's got a nice bottom end to it, so it's nice and torquey down low. It's not as good up in the upper RPM range or when you're going at speed as some of the other Hondas are, but there's always a trade-off in physics. All that being said, I have put a tremendous amount of work into this car over the past few months that I've had it. Now, my original purchase price was $500, and I think at this point I've probably got another $500 into it. And all that being said, I have a completely reliable car. I'm this close to actually having some air conditioning, so we haven't quite gotten there yet. But what I do have is a really nice sunroof, and I just roll all the windows down, open up the sunroof, and just cruise. Now let's talk about that stereo. A lot of you were commenting on the speaker installation. I should have kept the original connectors and all of that was bad. Well, I don't agree. Once again, this is a $500 car. Okay, if you want to keep the factory connectors, great, but in my experience, the more connectors you have, the more chances you have for failure. So I was very happy with just soldering the connections that I did with this car. Once again, this is just this car. This is what this car is about. This is not the pinnacle of performance. It's not the pinnacle of anything. It's a 1993. I mean, the thing is over 20 years old. It's just basic transportation, and it falls, as I said, directly under that reliable POS category. And even more so, and that it's almost like piloting a stealth fighter, because you don't have to concern yourself with this car with anything. I park it, I leave the windows down, I leave the sunroof open, so what? There is nothing of value in this car. And before, with the aftermarket stereo, I would argue that would make it more tempting to break into this, because there would be something of value to walk away with. As it is now, this is only going to fit a very small, narrow margin of vehicles, Acuras, of this time, and that's that. So there's really very little motivation to get into this car to do anything. It's just transportation, and that's, as I said, what I like so much about it. And it's fun. See, so Reliable POS, yes, it starts up and drives every time I turn the key, but more so is that it's got a certain fun factor to it. And when I get some decent tires on this and tweak around with the suspension a little bit, this car will, in essence, be mechanically restored. Which brings me to another place. The engine, transmission, differential are perfect in this car, and I mean perfect. I used to service this very vehicle at the dealership before I ended up purchasing it years later. And it was well maintained at that time. And even though it seemed to sit for a period of years, which is what caused all the clear coat and everything to peel off, it still worked out great. And the body work I did, that solved the water leak issues, and that was a pretty major issue. But color match? I mean, come on, not 6 inches away from where I did that body work, there's peeling clear coat all over the place. I don't care that the color doesn't match. In fact, once again, that adds to that stealth factor. This car, if anything, says, hey, that guy needs a job more than anything else. And I'm fine with that. I don't want people to pay attention to what I'm driving. And also, on top of that, if you do have one of those, like, say, higher end vehicles that has, nice shiny paintwork, a nice engine on the inside of it, my OCD is always active in those situations. I get behind a gravel truck, I get near anything that seems like it would be remotely harmful to what I'm driving, I get really nervous. This thing, I'll bash into shopping carts if it's in a parking space that I'm trying to get into and not give a second thought about it. So, on some level, there is the restoration aspect of these Acura Vigors. There are not that many of these around, and I have a feeling down the road, these will be somewhat sought after, particularly of this vintage. Well, I really shouldn't say that since they were only around 3 years anyway. But I think these cars will be classics, if you will, just because I think the people that owned them really liked them. They really identified with them. It's just Honda never really seemed to be able to get it off the ground here in the States as far as, giving people a 5-cylinder engine as opposed to a 6-cylinder, especially if the gas mileage was similar to a 6-cylinder. Why bother, So it's got a niche market. I will grant you that. But for me, I love my Acura Vigor. I love it for all the reasons that I just stated. It's got plenty of power, it's fun to drive, and I don't have to give a second thought to it at all when I drive it. And that to me is a peace of mind that is well beyond anything. And I've got less than $2,000 into this car, and it's just so much fun. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my little ride, our little ride here in my 1993 Acura Vigor, the car that I've grown to love so much. But anyway, if you have automotive questions, I talked about that a little bit at the beginning of this video. So if you have automotive questions, I would ask that you head out to ericthecarguy.com. There's a welcome video there to tell you about all of our amazing features to answer those automotive questions. In addition to that, if you wish to connect with me socially, which means, hey, Eric, what did you have for breakfast this morning kind of thing, I can be found on Google+, Facebook, and Twitter. Close each of my videos with be safe, have fun, stay dirty. See you next time.